Yo, what's going on, everybody? Plant Don Shawn. Welcome back to the Horticulture Trap House. Let's see what we got going on. It's finally here. Uh, well, almost finally here. We're at seeding day. So here we are, episode 4. And today we're going to be prepping our seeds. We're going to be talking about germination. Before anything bears fruit, you got to start off and you got to plant your seeds. And then afterwards, you got to properly take care of it. It's not just about throwing a seed in a cup or in a tray or anything like that. You got to make sure you give it everything that it needs to survive. So we're just going to be going over what you guys are going to need to start your seeds off with and how to go about doing that. What I always recommend, number one, is to always have a plan, have some type of set of notes of what you're going to be growing throughout the season. And also shout out to all of y'all. First off, you know, we subscriber amount is climbing up there. Appreciate y'all for that. Thank you. So it's all on you guys. So, everybody give yourselves a round of applause. So let's get back to this medicine here. So like I said, so you always want to make sure that you have a plan. I got here the our growing plan for the season and the strains that we're going to be growing over here at the Horticulture Trap House. So once you got your seeds, you're going to need some type of a starter tray. I call these like the eggshell trays. I don't know exactly what they're called. I don't even remember where I got them from. But if I do remember, by the time this goes up, I'll have it in the description. And yeah, if not, you can use whatever you're able to find as a starter tray. If you have any leftover like 6-packs that you normally buy, like tomatoes or peppers or anything like that, those will work for it. And as always stick to the good old solo cups. Those are always perfect as well too. And showed you how the trick of how to get a stack of cups and you just drill straight through the bottom. That way you get your drainage holes in there as well. And it's just a lot easier to track and mark. So if you are growing multiple strains, you can just mark it right there on the cup. So now we got our starter tray. And this tray here is going to be sitting in the bottom tray because we're going to be bottom watering. So that way we're not splashing the seeds out. And also we're not overwatering. The soil takes up as much water as it needs. So that we keep it moist but not completely waterlogged. So our soil here is just some simple starter soil. A little bit of peat moss, a little bit of compost, she worms compost, and shout out to them. And then some perlite. Very little. There is some organic matter in here, but very small as far as size wise. So we're gonna fill our tray here. And while the soil was in the bin, I didn't show you guys this on camera, but the soil was already pre-moistened. So that way, once it's in here, I never have to introduce water overhead. Everything could be bottom watered. And as you see, we outside in the trap just because I made a mess. But I was able to fill a tray nice and easy. And if you guys got the space to make the mess, that's a quick and easy way that you could fill your trays. Now, with making the holes, I just like to, this is just what I got on hand, is a Sharpie. Probably, I don't know, maybe about 1/8 of an inch, maybe about 1/4 of an inch. Just make a small hole in the center of each pod there. Now, I'm not going to make a hole in this last row over here. Now, the reason for that is because, like I said, this episode we're going over germination. And germination is pretty much just the process of it's like the process of waking up your seeds or getting your seeds started, getting your plants growing. So it can be done in multiple different ways. What continuing with this process here, this is direct seeding, where you're doing just that. You're putting the seed directly into the actual growing medium, whether it be, this type of a tray where you have like the small starter pack pods or anything like that, like those Jiffy pots or anything. Now, another option or another way that you can do it is the good old wet napkin plastic bag trick. You don't want the napkin to be, again, you don't want it to be completely saturated, but you just want it to be damp. You want it to be moist. So just gonna put a little water on there. Obviously, that was way too much water. So we'll just squeeze out the excess. And you have a damp paper towel, right? Once you get that damp paper towel, you're just gonna put your seeds on there. And close that up. Now, when you guys are doing this process at home, if you're doing just the paper towel process, you're not going to be making a bunch of mess with soil. So you could do this inside, or even if you have to do it outside, you'll definitely, I recommend having a much cleaner station. So that way there's no bacteria that's getting introduced into the process or anything like that. And that's it. So the plastic bag, what it's going to do is it's going to keep the paper towel moist. You're just going to want to check on it, make sure that it stays damp. You don't want it completely moist. You saw I wrung it out and everything. And then what you're going to see is the seed itself will slightly crack open and the root radical itself will come out. So it almost look like uh, almost like a cat's claw, how it comes out. So, it kind of retracts. And if you squeeze the paw, the claw kind of pops out. The root itself is going to look like it's doing that outside of the seed. So once it does that, then with some tweezers, then we'll make our hole and we'll plug it directly into the soil from there, and then it'll sprout. So some people think it, gives them a head start, it makes it grow even faster or anything like that. Um, Me, I'm a fan of just direct seeding. I like to let the plant do its own thing naturally as much as possible. I'm already starting it off here, then transplanting it to its home where it's going to be after its life cycle. That's enough intervention for me. So if you don't have the space for a tray or anything like this, or you don't have the time and you're kind of in a rush, maybe this works a little faster, maybe it doesn't. It's up to you. You guys do what you want. I'm just showing you guys different ways, but I'm also showing you the way that I normally do it. So on this track, let me mark this bag real quick. I try to always make sure whenever I'm writing or marking anything, especially when it comes into plants or anything like that, I write in all caps. That way, if for whatever reason, like you're dealing with some type of situation where it's more than just you having to look at things or figure things out, then everybody can read the handwriting that's on there. It's pretty hard to mess up writing in all caps, but when you're writing in like lowercase letters or anything like that, some of us still write like third graders. I know I do. So writing in all caps definitely helps out a lot. Now, so that's the napkin method there. Another way I've seen people do that is they'll put the napkin on a plate and then they'll put the whole plate in the bag. And what you're going to do with this is you're going to store this somewhere dark. Once you store it, you're going to put it somewhere dark and you just check on it once a day. Once the root starts popping out, like I said, that's when you'll get into your growing media. Now, another option that some people do, again, because they think it helps the seed germinate faster, but in my opinion, you start your seeds off at the right time. You don't got to worry about that. So the way you know you're starting it off at the right time is we're dealing with this crop, especially we're growing cannabis, is when you're in a place like I am in Connecticut, where we have frost dates and we have winter season and things like that. We're going to start anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks before our last frost date. So you go to almanac.com, you type in your zip code, no matter where you're at in the country, it'll tell you the first frost date, the last frost date of that growing season. So we are at that time frame, 4 to 6 weeks before our last frost date. So I'm able to start these off. They'll be indoors for about, I'll probably keep them indoors for about 2 weeks, and then I'll take 2 weeks hardening them off. When we get to that stage, I'll explain that more to you guys for those who don't know. And then, boom, they'll be ready to get in the ground, take off running. And then they'll be, a nice, good starter size to be able to capture as much time as we have in this short season. Now, the next option for germinating your seeds is it is direct seeding them, but instead of going directly into the soil, you're going to soak them overnight first. You can soak them anywhere from a day to 2 days. I wouldn't do any more than that. So before I fill this, I just have a small container. I'm going to fill it with water, let the seeds soak, and then that's that. You just plant them the very next day or day after that. So let me mark this one up first. Always keep a fresh Sharpie on hand. Just dropping a couple seeds in at a time. And I don't know if y'all can see all of this on the table, but I got my seeds packaged in multiple different ways. I got regular clear tubes, clear bags, dark bottles. These are probably one of the best ways to store your seeds. If not this, in like a small paper envelope, you want to keep it away from light as much as possible. These are kept in a drawer from the time that they're harvested. So they don't, this is the only time that they're seeing the light. But, again, if you don't have the space or anything like that, as far as at least having the proper storage and materials, I would always recommend, you know, either, if not paper envelope, a dark container like that. Boom. Just like that. That's option number 2 as far as storing your or germinating your seeds. Just got them sitting in the water like that. What you could also do is you could also put some hydrogen peroxide in there as well too. So if you just want to make sure that the seeds are clean or anything like that, and sometimes even before planting and direct seeding, if you're not sure where the seeds came from, you just don't like the way the package looked, like they may have been mishandled or they may have been, dirty or whatever the case may be, or let's just say a 1 to 10 ratio of water to hydrogen peroxide, and then you could toss your seeds in there, give them a quick shake, and then let them dry out after that. If you're not germinating, but if you are germinating, you can either go direct soil or you can go with any of the other methods that we just showed you. Now, the rest of these, we're going to direct seed them. Super simple. This to me is one of the most exciting parts of the season and process, is simply because it's like, I don't know, just the anticipation, and it's just, the mental foreshadowing and knowing exactly what's to come, or just the possibility of what's to come and how it could even be better than your wildest dreams is like, yeah, this is the part that gets me the most hype. And also because You know, it's like I feel it's just exciting, man. I feel like a little kid again. We're just gonna drop one per pod, just like that. Keep it nice and simple. Boom, 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 boom. Now, all of these are a variety of the Farmer Shawn strain that we've been open pollinated growing over the last few years, trying to get it as naturalized and acclimatized to growing in New England weather. Want something that's growing super large, but also super fast because of the short growing season, but also have some type of cold tolerance, again, because of the growing season. So, and, you know, just because why not a heavy producer as well? So that's what we've been working on. But because of that, let me get to why I was saying that. But because of that, uh, these aren't your feminized seed. So they don't go through any additional process, or we're not spraying colloidal silver on any of the branches or anything like that. You know, I haven't done enough research, but I kind of vaguely remember reading or seeing like there's a process and there's a way of breeding to kind of ensure, you know, the resulting seeds are females. But again, I don't remember it, so I'm not gonna, you know, go in depth about it. But yeah. So without knowing that, without knowing this, I'd rather keep my seeds unadulterated. So we're growing a large variety, so that way once we start flowering, and the males will show their flowers before the females. That way we'll be able to cut out all of the males, and then we'll cut out the undesirable females, so that way we're left with the appropriate legal limit that we're allowed to grow. So that's it for today's episode. Make sure before you guys get your seed started. Actually, you know what? That's not all the way it. That's seed down. Right, that's the extra one. That's not everything. My bad. I can't do y'all like that. So once we got everything in here, like I said, bottom watering, so we don't got to worry about anything like that. Hopefully I'll make a fool of myself and this tray don't have a hole in it. Don't matter, because I'm going to have to carry this inside anyways. Now, once you got your tray like this, like I got all type of materials out. I didn't even tell y'all what I'm doing with it. Man, it's horrible. Alright. Told y'all about the right on the tape beforehand. Normally, I would say this is only one variety. I know everything that's going to be in this tray. I'm not worried about it. Yeah, right. Know what I mean? Next thing you know, I'm going to have like 3 or 4 different trays going. And I'll remember which one is lined up which way. The next thing you know, boom, I forget who knows what. And we just playing Russian roulette trying to figure it out. So we're not going to do that. We're going to mark this tray first. Boom. And then what you guys are going to do, or what I'm going to recommend that you do, if possible, if you're able to do it. This ain't going nowhere. Put that like that. Is you're going to get yourself a humidity dome. Fits perfectly on any, what size is that? 10 by 20, I believe that's the size. 10 by 20 tray. I like these just because they have easy access vents that you can open up on them. Reason being you want them is when you're germinating, perfect conditions, you'd want a heat mat. That way you keep your soil anywhere from, uh, me personally, I would say like 72 degrees, but anywhere between like 70 and 75 degrees. Keep the soil temperature. That's going to be the fastest germination rate that you'll get. And also, that'll also be the less stress you'll put on the seed from the very start. And there are a lot of growers out there that like to believe the less stressed out the plant is, the more likely it will be to degrees. Keep the soil temperature. That's going to be the fastest germination rate that you'll get. And also, that'll also be the less stress you'll put on the seed from the very start. And there are a lot of growers out there that like to believe the less stressed out the plant is, the more likely it will be to turn out a female. Some people feel that there's a way you can tell from looking at a seed if it'll be male or female, but that's all up to you. It is what it is. Me personally, I love growing the plant in general, so I just grow a bunch of them. And if more turn out male than female, I chop the males down. However, females I'm left with. But there's a trick of cloning that you can do that I'll show you guys that as well when it comes time to it. And you'll get a little bit less of a harvest from, if you were growing from the very start, but you still get a harvest nonetheless, and you still get more than what you would have gotten with just the one plant. So humidity dome also helps keep the humidity up. Percentage is probably somewhere around like 70 or 80%. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Uh, this ain't that type of channel. Like I said, we ain't getting into specifics, but the higher the humidity, again, helps with the germination rate. Once they have fully germinated, we'll talk about parts of the plants, but once for those of you that know at least some layman's terms, once the seed leaves, crack the seed open and you start seeing the true leaves, pop the humidity dome off and then let them do their thing from there on. Or you could leave it on and just crack the vents open, but they'll tend to grow faster with it off once they fully open up. And then you're just gonna wanna you could sit in your windowsill or you get yourself a regular fluorescent light because all we're doing is just germinating, keeping them alive for a couple of weeks before we start bringing them outside, let the sun do its thing. If you're growing indoors, um, I'm growing outdoors, baby. When I start growing indoors, I'll show y'all how to do some indoors. So if you're watching where you're at the time of season where you got to do indoors, my bad. But this is how you start your outdoors. But you can go check out some other people that will definitely show you indoors. There's a lot of them out there. I ain't the first. I ain't gonna be the last. But I am Plant Don Shawn. I appreciate y'all for checking me out. And make sure you take care of your plants because they will take care of you. It's gonna be exciting, man. It's gonna be a fun year. There's a whole lot of craziness going on out there, guys. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Oh. All right, you see, that's how the seeds are gonna look once they crack open. Whether you're soaking them in the water or in the napkin, it's gonna be the same. So from here, that little white part, the root radical, you're gonna put that face down into the soil. And then here's the setup that we have here. Pretty simple. We just got a humidity dome, mylar on the walls, a little light, T5 hydro, not major. You don't need no extra super hyped up setup or anything like that because we are growing outdoors. So this is just to get us started off. And that's that. Man, I had to quit. Let's pause it up. My bad, people. See y'all next week.